The story opens with a scene of a wild party at a club where an unnamed man in a pretty party hat is enjoying himself, feeling on top of the world and confident that everything is going his way. The atmosphere is vibrant and carefree, with drinks being served on the house and people dancing. He feels in control and sees everything in a right light, a stark contrast to his usual state. The party, however, takes a sudden and dark turn. The man is seen in a state of panic, realizing something has gone terribly wrong and he needs to escape. A phone call interrupts the chaos. The man, revealed to be a private detective named Jimmy Cloud, is on the phone with a distressed woman, Mrs. Estevez. She is struggling with depression and fear after the murder of her husband and son by criminals and hasn't left her apartment in months. Jimmy offers her some words of comfort and advice, encouraging her to find her spark for life again. However, the real reason for her call is the disappearance of her sister Betty, who went out partying the previous night with her friend Rita and hasn't returned. Just as Jimmy is getting the details, a news report breaks on television. A reporter named Dave from the Indie Channel is live from Club Playfly, the same club from the opening scene. He reports on a mass overdose that occurred there last night, with a dozen people dead and many more in critical condition. The news report leaves the community in shock and fear. When Mrs. Estevez reveals that Betty went to Club Playfly, Jimmy tells her not to watch the news and promises to call her back. Jimmy goes to Club Playfly to investigate, where he finds the club's owner, Sarah. She seems upset but also resigned to the situation. Jimmy confronts her about the tragedy and she reveals that the news report of a mass drug overdose is true, but insists that her club only allows soft drugs. When Jimmy presses her for who brings in the drugs, she points to a dealer named Cindy Blue, who she says usually sells clean stuff. Sarah suspects that something must have happened with Cindy's drugs, as Cindy herself seemed just as freaked out as she was. Sarah tells Jimmy that he can find Cindy at the Fox Bar, which is run by the dangerous Roca Cartel. Sarah warns him to be careful, but Jimmy confidently states that he's always careful. The story then shifts to a news report from Rick Schwartz on Prime News Network, highlighting the escalating overdose crisis and the city's apparent inability to act. The report underscores the public's fear and frustration. At the Fox Bar, a woman named Kendra Parker, posing as a party-goer, tries to get close to the Roca Cartel's leader Santiago to find the source of the drug candy. Just as she's about to get information, Santiago gets aggressive and Jimmy Cloud intervenes, saving her from a violent confrontation. Kendra, it turns out, is not a party-goer but a journalist working on the same case. She's annoyed at Jimmy for blowing her cover, but he explains he thought she was in danger. They realize they are both investigating the same drug and Jimmy shares his lead on Cindy Blue. Kendra tells Jimmy she's also a journalist and was close to finding out the source of the drugs. Jimmy reveals his name and she gives him her phone number and tells him she will try to find any information on Cindy Blue. Kendra then calls her boss Alex and tells him about her lead as well as the private detective Jimmy Cloud. Alex is concerned for her safety, but she insists she knows what she's doing. Kendra goes on to report on her findings on her news channel and she puts a call out to the public for any information about Cindy Blue. Jimmy sees the report and is furious, showing up at her apartment to confront her. He argues that by putting Cindy's name out there, she has driven the dealer further underground and made it harder to find the source of the poisoned drugs. Kendra defends her actions, stating that the public has a right to know and her viewers can help. They agree to work together as a team, with Kendra promising to keep him in the loop. A new news report shows a disturbing escalation of the crisis. More people are dropping dead from the candy drug across the country, with horrifying videos of the deaths being broadcast. The news cautions viewers and advises against using illicit drugs. Meanwhile, in a dark and secretive location, a mob boss confronts his underlings, furious about the poisoned drugs and the damage it's doing to their brand. He demands to know where Cindy Blue is, as she is a low-level dealer who went outside of their network, but his people have not been able to find her. The search for Cindy Blue, the key to the entire mystery, intensifies. The aftermath of the news report that put the Roca Cartel's business in the public eye. The enraged cartel boss confronts his underlings, furious that a private investigator, Jimmy Cloud, and a reporter have created such a problem for their organization. He scolds them for not dealing with Jimmy and the reporter sooner and issues a chilling ultimatum: if Jimmy and the reporter aren't dead by tomorrow, he will ensure his underling suffers a slow and painful death. Meanwhile, a friend of Jimmy's named Butch calls him, warning him that the cartel has put a hit out on both him and the reporter. Jimmy refuses to run, but his friends Butch and Marcus urge him to lie low and get off the cartel's radar. They caution him that the cartel will not hesitate to come after him or Kendra the reporter. Jimmy insists he won't disappear and has unfinished business to attend to. He agrees to lay low for now but assures them he is not backing down. He then tells Kendra about the hit and she too refuses to back down, stating she must ensure her daughter is safe. While Jimmy is sparring at his home, Kendra arrives with a breakthrough in their case. Cindy Blue, the drug dealer, has reached out to her after seeing her live stream. Cindy is scared and needs their help, fearing the cartel is after her. Jimmy and Kendra agree to meet her. At her apartment, Cindy explains that she has no idea what happened to the drugs and that the bad batch looked identical to the regular ones. Jimmy deduces that someone is tampering with the pills at the source. Cindy reveals that she gets the drugs from a supplier named Mel, who has a direct contact with the cartel's manufacturers. Jimmy and Kendra get access to Cindy's laptop to contact Mel. While they wait, Kendra tries to get Jimmy to relax, but he is focused on the case. Suddenly Kendra collapses and Jimmy realizes that Cindy has poisoned her drink. Cindy tearfully confesses that the cartel threatened to kill her if she didn't poison them. Jimmy, however, is a step ahead. He knows that Kendra didn't receive a full dose and he forces Cindy to give Kendra Narcan from a nasal spray bottle she keeps. Once Kendra is safe, Jimmy gets an idea. He discovers from Cindy's chat history that Mel has a crush on her. He tells Cindy to use this to her advantage and get information from him. A hesitant Cindy agrees, and when Mel calls she feigns distress and asks him about the bad batch of pills. Mel, trying to reassure her, accidentally reveals that he gets his drugs from a cheaper source and mentions a chemist who produces the drugs at the Fox Bar. Mel, realizing his mistake, tries to take back what he said, but Cindy continues to press him for information. He finally reveals that the chemist is one of the cartel members and is currently in Mexico on business, giving them an opportunity to go to the Fox Bar to catch him. At the Fox Bar, Jimmy, Kendra, and Cindy confront the chemist. The chemist, surprised they know who he is, reveals his motive. He admits to being a drug maker for the cartel for years, which made him rich and powerful, but everything changed when his own son overdosed. He began poisoning the pills in order to create a panic among drug users, hoping that if people started dying, the demand for drugs would decrease and the drug trade would eventually end. He believed that by killing drug users he could save innocent lives in the future. Their conversation is cut short when Santiago, the Roca cartel boss, appears with his men. He reveals that Mel, the supplier, told him everything. Santiago, believing the chemist to be a traitor, shoots and kills him. A shootout ensues with Santiago and his men firing at Jimmy, Kendra, and Cindy. Jimmy tells the women to run and the three of them manage to escape. In the final scene, Jimmy and Kendra reflect on their actions, acknowledging that they may not have changed the world overnight, but they did something good by bringing the truth to light. They also acknowledge that Cindy's help in taking down Santiago will likely help reduce her sentence. They agree that working together was better than working alone, and the film ends with them sharing a moment of peace at Sarah's club where their journey began. After escaping the deadly shootout at the Fox Bar, Jimmy and Kendra seek refuge, their adrenaline still high from the confrontation. The weight of the events settles in, especially on Kendra, who has just witnessed the brutal murder of the chemist. She grapples with the morality of his actions, questioning whether his goal of stopping the drug trade justified the lives he took. Jimmy, while understanding her turmoil, is more pragmatic, focusing on the immediate aftermath and the justice that needs to be served. Kendra's earlier reporting on Cindy Blue has gone viral, and the public is now fully aware of the sinister plot behind the drug overdoses. This newfound attention provides a crucial advantage. With the public now on their side and the cartel's reputation in tatters, they are no longer just fighting a criminal organization, they are exposing a systemic failure. The authorities, who previously seemed unwilling or unable to act, are now forced to take the case seriously due to the immense public pressure. The final scene shows Jimmy and Kendra at Sarah's club, the very place where the tragedy began. The atmosphere is different now. It's no longer carefree but somber, a memorial to the lives lost. Sarah, the club owner, acknowledges their efforts by offering them drinks on the house, a gesture of respect and gratitude. The conversation between Jimmy and Kendra reveals a newfound camaraderie. They reflect on their partnership, acknowledging that their combined skills, his as a pragmatic detective and hers as a truth-seeking journalist, were essential to their success. They have learned that working together despite their initial disagreements is more effective than working alone. They have not only brought a measure of justice to the victims but also exposed a web of corruption that extends far beyond a single club or drug dealer. As they leave the club, a new partnership is forged, ready to take on whatever challenges lie ahead. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.